Hi everyone, this is Miss Marissa with Wholesome Learning, and today we're going to be talking about persuasive writing. So for our most recent Google Classroom, we are writing a persuasive letter to the Board of Education of the school district and talking about, should religious holidays be observed by public schools? Why or why not? So here right now we have our graphic organizer, and I just wanted to kind of give some tips on the best ways to fill this out, and as well as go into some words and phrases that I think would be useful. But first, let's talk about this graphic organizer. So there's some different important pieces of persuasive writing, because in persuasive writing, you're kind of giving your opinion about something and you're justifying it. So kind of by justifying, that means that you're using, evidence or research to back up your point. And in this case, because we're talking about religious holidays, it's important to sometimes give personal stories. I know some students are finding research about the different student populations in their school district. So all of those things can be really helpful. So the attention grabbing beginning, a lot of students, you can, say your name and your school to kind of introduce yourself, because you want to build your credibility. You're not just like some random person. You're a student at this school, and all students' voices matter, especially in schools. And, the Board of Education takes students' voices very seriously. So you don't really have to build your credibility. Like if you were like a doctor and you were doing certain research, that's what you would introduce yourself with. But for this case, you're just a student, you're at this school. And once again, this is going to be a personal kind of persuasive writing because you're talking about religious holidays. So you can start with your name, your school. Some people might start with like a little story, such as, with the upcoming holidays, a lot of students are going to be able to take off for Christmas. But what about students who celebrate Hanukkah or Kwanzaa? Not all schools give off for those holidays. So they might kind of start with that attention grabbing like that. Description of the issue is that's kind of just the question you're talking about. So of course we have, religious holidays in public schools. And then your opinion statement is if you're going to say yes, we should, or no, we shouldn't observe religious holidays at all. After that, you want to move to your paragraph 2, your paragraph 3, and your paragraph 4. So these are going to be your big ideas for your reason. And these and your evidence to support your details and examples are going to be mini things to kind of go back and support this big idea. So let's say, so we'll put like mini ideas here. So for example, if we were going to think about a reason, I know an important one has been family time. So that's a pretty big idea, right? It's not very specific. It's broad enough that we can do some type of support for this. So one detail could be, let's say, family travels far. So that example is saying, some family members come from other states or, have to drive a couple of hours to get to you when you're celebrating this holiday, and you don't really get to see them often either. So family travels far, don't see often. And remember, it's okay if we're not writing full sentences here, because these are just ideas to kind of keep your juices flowing when you're writing your letter. Another could be a personal story. that kind of backs up these two little points. So if you're saying, your family travels far and you don't get to see each other often, you could say, in this case, when I was celebrating this holiday, I had an uncle, aunt, cousin, etc., come from Connecticut to come visit us and celebrate. And unfortunately, because I couldn't take off of school, I didn't get to spend a lot of time with them. So you're going to do the same thing, for reason 1, reason 3, reason 2. You're going to think about those big ideas. And then at the bottom here, we have this thing called a rebuttal. So a rebuttal could also be called a counter argument. It's the argument against the argument that you're making. So for our example, talking about religious holidays, some school districts might be like, wow, I think this is a great idea, but how are we going to make up for all of these days of school that are missed for different holidays? And here's where you, the writer, have to come up saying like, yeah, it is, kind of nerve-wracking if, you miss too many days of school, or some students are worried about perfect attendance, but we could make up classes by doing online learning, right? You could do an online learning, or you could extend school hours, or even extend extend, I guess it's not going to let me write it there, extend school year. So that's possible too. These are all possible reasons. You can even think of your own. And after you're finishing up with all of your reasons, you have your conclusion. So re-saying your opinion is just, you're putting your opinion statement in different words. You're rephrasing it. You're like maintaining that argument. Like, yes, I still, after giving you all these reasons, I still believe it's really important that we should be able to take off for major religious holidays for other religions. Summarizing your 3 reasons, you're saying family time. Reason 1, reason 2, these is where your other reasons would go. And you would kind of like, find like a common factor between all 3 of these. You could talk about how it's a benefit to your social and academic growth that, you have all of these reasons to take off for the holidays. Like, you'll become a better student because of it, but you just have to back it up with like another reason. And then your call to action or closing statement, you want it to be very forward, but not aggressive. So, your closing statement to the point is, you could say things such as like, I think it's really important that we get to take off for major religious holidays because it's not discriminating from all of our different and diverse students, etc., etc. You don't want to be like, oh, you have to take off holidays or else I'm going to like beat you up. Like, no, it doesn't work like that, right? Especially if we're writing a letter to the Board of Education. Your call to action is just you saying like, as a concerned student, I think it is crucial that we give space and time for other students to celebrate their religious holidays. So it's kind of wrapping up everything that you're saying and re-supporting it. And then just, as a side note, I'm going to go over the list that we have of all the words and phrases that I think can be pretty helpful for you. So we have, for like our introduction, we can say things such as like, it is certain in this situation And then we have these two big ones. I think, I feel that. Now, you have to be careful with these two because they have a little something called personal bias. Now, in our case where we're writing this letter about religious holidays, personal bias is, it's your own beliefs and values. And sometimes that can be really helpful. Like I said, in our situation, we're talking about religious holidays. So you can use statements like, I think, I feel that. But when you're writing more serious persuasive letters where you're using some other type of like research or background information to support your statement, although we know lots of things, we're not experts in it. So sometimes in other situations, it's kind of important to keep that personal bias out of persuasive writing. But I think it would be really helpful to use here as long as you don't overuse it. And then we can also say things such as, on the other hand, which would be really good for if you're presenting a counter argument. You can also, when you're starting to make your points, so making points, you can say things such as firstly, secondly, thirdly, etc. You can say in addition. You can have if then statements, kind of like a cause and effect. And then we have likewise, furthermore. So when you're going into more detail, you could have, for example, in fact, for instance. And then for your conclusion, you could have, for these reasons. In short, in other words. Which I think all would be pretty, yeah, let me erase this. I'll put it over here in other, a little technical glitch, don't worry, we'll get this figured out. I'll just add it over here, in other words. And these are all really good if you're like summarizing your reasons. And then lastly, I'm just going to give you a short list of other helpful words. So we have things such as reasons, arguments, for, against, unfair, and then pros and cons. So I want to thank you all for watching this clip talking about persuasive writing. I hope that it'll be really useful to all of you as you continue to work on your Google Classrooms. And then once again, thank you just for watching this video today. Good luck on all of your Google Classrooms.